Evening all, welcome to Fight Club. We don't talk about Fight Club, but this is Fight Club. What you're about to see is going to upset some of you, given on how popular the last video was, or rather how unpopular the last video was with people who play this game. People don't like being ganked, and they don't like seeing people being ganked. It's kind of like being beaten up by a gang of people, so it just makes people uncomfortable. So it's going to be 3 videos of that. I do apologise in advance. I promise you this is just something that we did to pass the time. We weren't necessarily killing people for the hell of it. But there we go. Anyway, so managed to get a gang of, I think, 8. So that's 2... No, I think it's a bit less than that. Anyway, 6... I think it's like 8 eventually. And what we do is we go and basically kill people. I promise we didn't mean to. It's just one of those things. I know a lot of people get a bit funny about this, hence my original statement. And let me try and kind of quantify why you shouldn't do, because this game is good because of this freedom. The fact that you can be utterly ganked in the Dark Zone, all your stuff taken, and you know, your skill level reduced, your money level, your keys stolen from you. It's not a nice feeling, and that's why it's important that this is possible. And I'll tell you why. This is what DayZ only worked because you could gank people. Okay, if you couldn't kill and take their stuff and destroy them, the game wouldn't work, would it? It's a bit too kind of simple. You know, PvP with consequences is a big deal. So that's my kind of statement on it, and this is why we did it. Yes, we're being complete dickbags, but we die in the end. We get killed ourselves in the end, and I think that's the truth of all rogues. Is rarely, you know, I don't think ever really they will cover, you know, a huge amount of kills without themselves being killed a few times. So for me, don't get too discomforted from this kind of gameplay, because in fact this is probably one of the big reasons why this game is going to be so successful, is you can have this PvP element within it. Okay, so let's just so be cool, bros, be cool. It's not that bad. Even though, as we say that, 8 people killing one guy is a bit, you know, it feels wrong, doesn't it? So here we go. This poor guy here, Royal, he's about to get completely owned. He's going to have a bad time, as Schley would say, and it's not going to go well for him indeed. I think this is one of the beauties of the Division, is that this Dark Zone scariness, because you could run around the Dark Zone in a gang of 4 and encounter all of a sudden us in a gang of 8, or whoever in a gang of 8. And this is why, you know, no matter who's top dog, there's always the risk that you're going to get killed. The analogy here I'd like to use, or the metaphor maybe, is when you're driving on the motorway, no matter what speed you're doing, there's always somebody trying to go faster than you. And that's the truth of it. So this is why I think, you know, this mechanic is not a horrible thing. I mean, look here. I'll give you a great example here. I die here because we're trying to gank some dude. You know, he's basically trying to get revenge on us. He pops a super. I don't particularly manage to pop my super, and then I'm dead. And that's it. That's the way it goes. I don't have any issue of dying, and I don't think you should either. And it's funny because I think in Eve Online was a great example of this, where people were so scared of dying they never went into anywhere where there was danger. So therefore you're missing out on half of the game. I mean, look here, we kill this dude, we take his stuff, you know, we're kind of putting ourselves out there at risk to, you know, get some benefit from it, and I think it's, you know, it's worth doing. I do honestly think. Don't go rogue for where there's no reason to go rogue. So, for example, if you're on your own, there's very little reason to go rogue when you're on your own, because the chances are you're going to be caught by a lot of people. But when you're in a big gang like this, you should feel that kind of safety where you can do it. A lot of you now angrily mashing the comments button to tell me what a complete dick I am. It's okay, I know I am, it's okay, I don't need to be told. This was a great example of how, you know, vicious the game can be, but this is also why the game's so good. So I show it merely for documentary purposes. I'm not you know, kind of laughing and giggling as this happens. I honestly was curious to see what happened. Yeah, this gang basically was just rolling around. That's the guy who killed me just a moment ago, so we're going to kill him. Or he's tried to look at him run away. Now, I would say, let's talk about some of the tactics of the Dark Zone. The best thing to do in the Dark Zone is run a massive tank, so it would appear. Okay, so this is one of the things. Another good tactic is not to go flipping AFK like this dude did. I don't even know what he was doing, you know, it's just so strange, isn't it? So we kill him, steal his stuff, steal his keys, lol. I don't know why you would even come to the dark zone, stand there and go AFK. I really don't get it. So there we go. I think running a big tank is pretty important. Now, I've been doing some number crunching as well, and the DPS stats on your guns are completely false. Don't believe them. And I'll tell you for why. Because there's a huge amount of I guess subjective equations going on. So, for example, the DPS at optimal is always calculated, never any further. So if you're engaging from a bit further away, it doesn't count. It also makes an assumption on how accurate you are. So what the problem with the calculation is it takes accuracy into account. Whereas if you are confident enough that you can get most of your shots on target, you should work out how many bullets will hit. You should then also work out what your critical hit chance is. Go to character screen, look at your character screen, see what it says, and then basically this should show you your percentage of critical hits. For example, my character at the moment is running, I think it's something like 39%. What that means is if I've got a clip size of 49, then 39% critical hit chance is something like, I should have done the maths, but it's like 22, 23, maybe a bit more. Well, yeah, about 22, something like that. What that means is that then you have a critical damage score, which is then the percentage damage that does. On mine, actually, it's 200 and no, it's not. It's 189%. Okay, so that means that if you're doing 944 or 9,444 damage on my AUG, that means that gets upscaled to 20 something. So you're seeing how it works. It's probably worth just sitting with a calculator on your phone and just sitting and working it out, because then you can work out your DPS from your rate of fire and so on. It's not difficult. You can figure it out. And I did this, and I worked out that my gun on the game said I was getting 110 DPS, which seemed very low. When I worked it out on the old calculator Reno, I was actually getting 190 DPS. So definitely worth looking, because I always would say that the AUG that I was running seemed very good. So it was always, there's definitely something wrong with it. You know what I mean? I remember looking at it and thinking, well, that can't be right, because I'm getting criticals on the body, and that's all body shots, by the way. I haven't included headshots, which is even more ridiculous. So that's your DPS. I worked it out with a ping, with the damage ping, and with the rate of fire and the clip size, etc. I was getting basically 250,000 DPS. This is what I was working out. So yeah, I mean, that assumes you've got to get all your shots on target and so on. So it's worth doing, I think, because you kind of are going to end up, otherwise you're going to end up running with a gun that looks good but actually isn't, because the accuracy is such a big factor in this. It kind of sets that accuracy level as as basically what your likelihood of hitting is. So for example, if you've got a low accuracy gun but it does godlike damage, you'll get a low DPS because it assumes you're going to miss every 5 minutes, which you may, but to be honest, the accuracy factor in this game isn't massive. You're not engaging people at massive distances. So assault rifles, for example, have an optimal range of something like, I don't know, 50 meters maybe, but then it would assume that half your shots will miss, so your DPS on your assault rifle is even lower. So it's a bit balked. So really, I would suggest don't listen to what it says on DPS. Sit and work it out yourself. I worked out my AUG. I worked out then versus the Vector versus the Navy MP5, and the AUG is the best gun as far as I can work out. Mathematically, assuming that you can hit your shots, which I would imagine most of you could, then in theory, on paper and with numerical advantage, the AUG is by far the best gun because it does the highest damage. With the ping, the whole magazine will kick out 750,000 points. There we go. Hope you enjoyed that. Join us next time for Death Alley Part 2.